Good morning, everybody. So let's talk about forest and not mining. Something a little bit better, but also with some consequences for the environment, right? So also I want to introduce myself. My name is Flor Peña Herron. I am Spanish, but I'm living in the Netherlands since 20 years. And actually, I recently joined Stora Enso 6 months ago because I wanted to work in a company who has sustainability in the core of their strategy. So my background, I'm a biologist, so I study ecology and microbiology, combine it. So how can we clean the environment, to clean water, to treat pure soil, and etc. So I have been in sustainability areas for quite a long time. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit how Stora Enso is working around combating climate change. Of course, you can think about a forest owner, climate change. It's kind of with the discussion we have yesterday. So there is a sink that we can do to capture all the CO2. But of course, there is also another area where we have many places where the forest can play a really good help for our new developments and etc. So let me tell you a little bit about Stora Enso. Stora Enso is a Finnish-Swedish company. So we are mostly in the Nordics. So we have production sites in Finland, in Sweden, and all the Baltic. But we also have plantations in South America and also in China. Stora Enso is, I think, the third biggest forest owner in the world. So we have around 1.5 million hectares of forest. So, and from there, we have many different business around. So Stora Enso itself can be its own supply chain from the forest till the product. But of course, that is not enough. So we also use more material from other suppliers. As you can see, so it's a really big company, 20,000 people, all distributed mostly in the Nordics, but also in the Central Europe. So we have production plants also in the Netherlands. Here in Germany, also we have some of them. We have 5 different divisions in Stora Enso, so they are dedicated to the different part of the business you can do. We have the forest, who is doing everything around how we manage the forest in the sites we have. We have the wood product, that is where we use the timber of the trees for construction. We also have biomaterials, who are trying to use any part of the tree to be used, for example, in biofuels, alternative materials, cellulose, anything that you can think about it. And we are also in packaging. We have a division that is packaging materials, who is actually the packaging to consumer, so all the boxes you have at home. And we also have packaging solutions, that is mostly corrugated cardboard that is used in what we call secondary and tertiary packaging, so mostly industrial, transportation, e-commerce, and etc. So you can see we have a really big bunch of things. And I didn't want to put it here because sometimes video in conference doesn't work, but if you go to Stora Enso, there is a nice video about how many things you can do from a tree and how each part of the tree will be dedicated to a different production site. So, for example, the pulp will never come from the body of the tree, will come from the branches, because the body of the tree will go to construction. And actually, we are really proud of that, because this month, Stora Enso has opened the headquarters in Helsinki. It's a big building, all made with timber. So it's a really nice building. You can see it. Everything is done by timber. And that is where we say we put the word where we are saying. So then, a little bit about what I just said. So in that slide, you can see more or less where you can find our products. Maybe one of the excitants I was talking to some of you was lignode. So you know the paper making process has a waste, and one of the wastes is called lignin. Lignin is actually used in many different ways. One of them is a glues and adhesive, but our research department has also found that we can use to build batteries. So we are now creating batteries for coming from lignin. There is also, of course, you probably are doing e-commerce, so anything that is coming in boxes, carton boxes, will be probably from our side. We have building concepts, trays for food, but also trays for flower. If you have your garden, so you also can see that. And the amazing thing is that we can say that probably everything that is done actually from fossil fuel can be done maybe in the future with a tree. So that is our philosophy. It's really hard to get there, but we will see. So we are really proud on investing in many different ways on how to get a maximum optimization of a tree. Because we also understand that it needs to be cut out, and we don't want to see deforestation, right? So at least that's we want to see that everything that we manage is managed in the right way. So everything that we cut for production immediately is restored and is considered for the next generation of product. And some of our forests are even 100 years old. So then we keep the production long enough. And also we are harvesting the trees because you need also to manage the trees for their healthy growth. And that material is also used in our productions. So, of course, Stora Enso, as many big corporations, we have our ambitions. And I heard yesterday about regeneration. And we also have our regenerative ambition and sustainability framework. It is actually based on planet boundary. So we saw yesterday some of our colleagues presenting about planet boundaries. So we are also focusing on that, and we want to be 100% generative by 2050. Of course, we are working with a renewable material, right? And we think it can be fully circular, but also from the recycling. And I have been working in recycling in my previous job. You always, and especially in paper, you always need to keep some percentage of virgin fiber. Otherwise, the material will be really bad at the end. So those nice stories, they say 100% is good for some cycles, but not forever. You always need to incorporate some natural fiber. And that is good from our perspective because we are growing trees. So then we can keep that material in the circle. For me, circular economy is not that everything needs to come into the same use. Of course, maybe for jewelry it's easy. But for example, for packaging and for other applications, the material needs to be flowing. That is what is circular economy. Material needs to be flowing. You don't need to use new material or new resources if you can use the ones that are in the market. Exactly like our colleague was saying before. If we can use whatever we have collected before, why to take new materials? Also, we are focused on climate, and forest is well known. And our colleague was presenting from Osel yesterday. It can be used as capturing CO2. So we are also considering that part. And we think that circularity is a big aspect for us. And of course, it's a forest. So we need to keep biodiversity, right? So that is also one of the big focuses of Stora Enso, that we manage and we control the biodiversity in all our forests we manage. We control, and we also collaborate with external partners to make sure that our forest is maintaining the biodiversity every time. Or maybe even sometimes even increase the biodiversity if we can. That is, for example, sometimes in the plantations that we have in South America, there were actually places that were totally deforested before. So, and then say, okay, how can we bring a little bit of life back? And you can think also those reforestation are monocultives, only one type of 2 or 3 plants, but even though it's better than becoming a desert. So you also need to be really critical on how extreme in the sustainability area what you want to go. Sustainability is not about the string, it's about the equilibrium. So that is what we all need to think about. Then our ambition, as you can see here, is the forest we know that plays a really key role on the green transformation and be helpful for the climate change. We have set really ambitious target, and I'm proud to say that the Stora Enso has been in this road for many, many years. We have our SBE target already since 2017. Actually, was the first forest company who applied the SBTi targets. You will see it later. But the thing is that we wanted to be at least the target that everybody wants to be on the Paris Agreement. Nobody is speaking about Rio 1972, but that was when everything started. That was when I was born, and I say, oh, nice year to do those things. So many people think that sustainability is new. No. So many companies like Stora Enso has been working in these areas for many, many years. Of course, we are committed to be net climate positive by 2050 and committing to net zero emissions by 2040. I think all those years are really familiar to all of you because many of the big companies have set similar targets. We are in the first run in our industry. So solutions, how we get to ambitions, our ambitions translated in solutions. As I said before, we try to make our fibers valuable in many different uses. So we know that everything we take out from the forest should be given as longest use as possible. And try also, as I said, to keep the biodiversity in place in our forests and also use our forests as a carbon sink in some areas. How we are doing that, also we are thinking, like I said before, a product substitution. So we are trying to think about how can we, many of the actual uses that you have with fossil fuels can be done with renewable material coming from the forest. Actually, we said that we are not in circular economy, we are in bio-circular economy. That is a different part. Efficiency on the material utilization and also in our factories. As you can see on the top, there is actually the factory that I am working. So it's a big building, all the roof is with solar panels, and we use that electricity in our production. So that is what we are trying to make sure that all our facilities are working on getting renewable energy, but also to be efficient as possible in our process. We are in the corrugated business, and we are trying to see if we can substitute corrugated material for fossil fuel material. So let's see if one of our corrugated solutions, like you can see, a flower bucket that you see a lot in the Netherlands, but also here in Germany. So we are trying to make the substitution there. Optimizing material and energy efficiency, that is a program in all our factories where we are trying to make sure that we are using the latest technology to make our process efficiency, but not only in the energy and the resources, but also on the waste management. So, you know, our product right now, paper, has one of the highest recycling percentage in Europe. So we are around 80%, and everything that we can recycle, we will recycle. But also we have some activities around capturing our carbon in our facilities to make sure also that some of our sites are carbon neutral as soon as possible. So everything is combined in Stora. So to think about it is, for example, the waste of some of the paper mills are used for bioenergy to get back into the factory. So we try to reduce also the input from outside and try to make ourselves as self-efficient as possible. And there is probably, as you can see, with many other companies, we are leading in performance of ESG. So you can see that later when you will get the presentation. I think it's really nice that a company who is speaking about sustainability is doing a great effort to be the best in class in sustainability. So we are walking the talk. Sometimes that is not in all the companies. But what is important for us, and I think that is what I have been joining Stora Enso and what I was doing for 5 years, is collaboration. Sustainability cannot be done in silos. You need to collaborate with your suppliers, you need to collaborate with your customers, you need to collaborate with your supply chain. You need to be part of associations, you need to talk to governments, you need to lobby about how to get better, because sometimes governments are putting legislation there, and I will not go to all the list of legislation we went yesterday because that is too repetitive. But sometimes the people who are putting the legislation, they don't know how industry works. So that is our duty to tell them what can we do and what we cannot do. So it's also our duty to collaborate with them to make that legislation even stronger sometimes, but also needs to be flexible because the industry needs to continue. So legislation is not here to stop everything, right? But at the same time, we need to make sure that we are all in the same pathway. How we do those things internally actually is, like I said, trying to replace as much as possible fossil fuels materials. We are working ourselves in programs like eco-design to make sure that we are reducing our packaging, not only because it's coming from legislation, because it's also to reduce the use of raw material in our processes. So that is something that it is embedded in the company, how to be more efficient. We collaborate with the value chain. We are participating in many associations. CEPI is one of the biggest paper associations in Europe, Forever Green, where we are working there in making the first design for recycling guidelines for paper and cardboard. That is related with packaging and packaging waste regulation. That was one of the ones that is coming into us, but we are also collaborating in the maintaining the biodiversity of the areas where we are. And we are educating about sustainability. There is a big program in Stora Enso, the education inside of Stora Enso with the employees and engagement with the employees in sustainability for the daily work, but also in their personal life. But it's also education in the communities where our facilities are, also trying to explain what do we do with the forest we cut and how we regenerate the forest and how we treat everything. There is also a big commitment from Stora Enso to reuse as much material that is already in the market. And we have, for example, a big recycling facilities. Probably you have not considered, but fiber is, for example, in the Tetra Pak type of packaging. and that is a multi-composite type of packaging, and we have a collaboration with one of our paper mills who are retreating that fiber and sending the rest of the material to a second facility. So we are also committed to make sure that even the difficult material to recycle right now has an alternative to be recycled. We also work, there is not much newspaper or magazines right now, right? We read everything on internet, but one of our paper mills in Belgium actually is recycling all the newspapers and magazines around the area of Ghent and Antwerp, and we use that paper again back into the system. We are trying to make sure that everything is back in flow, like is what I said, that is circular economy from my point of view. And the summary. We as an industry want to be sure that we are ahead of the Paris Agreement and we can combat the climate change. How? We set ourselves really high ambitions for our company, providing new solutions for different uses, but what is more important is collaborating with the industry and with our supply chain in tackle all potential obstacles. So for me, it's important that in this type of conference, you look around and to see with who can I collaborate to make my company stronger in sustainability. And I think that was from my side. Thank you so much.